we're good.
Okay. All right, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. I'm going to call the meeting of the Valley Park School Board of June 23rd to order at 7:36 p.m. I'd like to invite everybody to join us for the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, Nicole Martinez is going to read our mission statement of the Valley Park Schools.
Our mission is to provide a supportive, personalized environment in which students will grow strong intellectually, emotionally, physically, and socially today in preparation for tomorrow.
Thank you. So we're going to go into the section 2 of the meeting with honors and presentation. I'm going to pass that over to Tim at this time.
All right, before we begin the meeting and the agenda items, this is a very significant meeting. It's very significant because this is actually the last official board meeting for Dr. Tad Savage as an employee of the Valley Park School District. Dr. Savage is joining us virtually right now on the meeting. But we just want to, there he is. But we just wanted to take an opportunity and once again, just thank Tad for all of his years of service as a teacher, a coach, a middle school principal, and now assistant superintendent in the Valley Park School District. This caps 33 years in education, the majority of those right here in the Valley Park School District. So we just want to thank Tad and honor your contributions and your commitment, and just thank you again for all your service to our students and our community.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I'm not there with you. I am in the back of an Uber sitting in traffic in New Orleans. So thank you for the kind words, Tim. I appreciate that.
Well, they're heartfelt. We all appreciate everything you've done, Tad. And if you had been here, I would have brought you healthy snacks. No cupcakes for Tad. He's got to run. Run marathons. Okay. So the next thing we have is 2.01, the mission, vision, values, revision, presentation by Dr. Rich.
Zach, can you pull that up for me, please? Not the budget. I don't want to talk about it. All right, well, thanks for the opportunity to present to you tonight. It's my honor to speak on behalf of a committee that's much larger than me, the Mission, Vision, Values Committee, and the work that they've been doing over the course of 2 years. Admittedly, we'll talk about that timeline a little bit. It wasn't planned to be 2 years. We had that unplanned pandemic sandwiched in between our work, but I'm really proud to be the person that's presenting their work tonight for you to consider for approval later this evening. So as I said, I stand before you on the shoulders of a group of many. We originally started with a group of close to 30 people consisting of staff, families, and administrators. Over the course of 2 years worth of work, we unfortunately had to say goodbye to some of our members as they moved out of district and so forth. But still a really great group representative of a number of voices in our community is who I stand before you tonight presenting the work of. And that group represents a much bigger group. Throughout our process, we were very intentional about trying to align the voices of our students, our parents, our staff, and our community members, not only in the district's mission, but in really creating a revised mission and a compelling vision for the future, while also identifying some values that will guide our work. And so our committee, while it consisted of parents, faculty, and staff, we were very intentional about collecting data from a whole wealth of resources and stakeholders throughout this entire process. And we're not going to go into all the data tonight, but I will share just kind of bits and pieces of it with you as we work through the revised mission and then a new vision and values proposal for you. So the number one thing we did throughout this process was really make sure we surveyed everybody. So we surveyed our students about their feelings on the district. Over the course of 2 years, we sent 2 different community surveys out to everyone in our community. And then, of course, we surveyed our faculty and staff about what's going well, what areas need improvement, and so forth. And so just out of that most recent community survey, I thought 3 numbers that really stuck out to me. One was the total number of people who participated. So just this past year, we had 584 people participate in that survey. With a district of our footprint, that's a pretty significant number. It really kind of talks about the reach that we had in getting people involved. But the 3 numbers that I want to talk about from that 584 that I also think are important that really stuck out to me was 10% of those 584 people identified themselves as community members that do not have children enrolled in the Valley Park School District. I think we naturally assume anytime we survey people, of course, the majority of people are going to be families who have kids in the district. But that was significant to me and stuck out that 10% don't currently have students in the district. Another number that stuck out to me that was really important was that 11% of the people who took the survey, the community survey, identified themselves as alumni of our school district. So I think it's great when you're thinking about trying to get more people that only involved currently, but capturing the voices of the past to have 11% represented as well. And then 19% represent our faculty and staff. So the majority, as you might expect, but currently is certainly, current families within the district. But those 3 numbers really kind of showed the diversity that involved in a number that really did hit a lot of homes throughout our polling. The other thing that we did most recently throughout the spring was we tried to capture a lot of voices through focus groups. So we held over 22 focus groups, over 160 people participated in those focus groups. And those percentiles that you see up there are kind of how it all broke down. So when we looked at those numbers, 39% of the people who participated in our focus groups were faculty or staff members. 31% of our focus groups were students, which makes me really proud to think that we capture students all the way from grade 3 to grade 12. When we're thinking about not only our present, but our future state as a district. 21% were guardians, and then 9% were part of a community business group that included people who currently sit on Mayor Webster's cabinet, people from Sacred Heart, from Twin Oaks. Our local St. Louis County police force was represented with a couple members, Officer Polk from the fire department, and some past board members and community members as well were all part of that group. So again, really trying to diversify so that when we start to see trends and through lines, we know that it's representative of a larger group, not just a singular point of data. And then throughout that process, not only were we collaborative and inclusive, we were just very intentional about trying to get as many voices as possible into our process. And that not only included surveys and focus groups, but it also included available data to us. So when we look at the DESE data that's out there publicly, as far as academics and graduation rates and matriculations to college and careers, we looked at those academic points as well throughout the process. Why is this important before we get into the mission, vision, values revisions? Is that it's all part of a much bigger plan. The mission, vision, value work, quite honestly, is only as good as the actions that come out of it. And a mission, vision, value should really support the efforts of a strategic plan. And I present this kind of image to you tonight to kind of show the timeline of kind of how our work all started. Initially, full disclosure, we had hoped to present a strategic plan to the board in January of 21. I will tell you, when we kind of started this work way back in November of 19, we had no idea that that fun pandemic would come and put a really long rain delay on our work. But I'm really excited that despite some of the challenges that we experienced over the last 15 to 18 months, that we were still able to keep our focus on what's important, and that's our students and moving our district forward. So this began way back in November of 19, and I'm not going to read all the little line items to you, but that's when we really started designing parent, student, staff surveys and organizing meeting times and so forth. We really then got into the learning stage. In December of 19, heading into January, we rolled out our faculty survey results, and we heard the voices of our faculty saying, we've got to do more with professional development. We've got to do more with curriculum. And so certain things that came out of that were the development of our district professional development committee, the technology committee that's been around, and then really trying to be more intentional about how we're spending our time supporting and engaging our teachers in the learning process. We also were very excited back then. We started our first book study and had over 50 volunteers sign up for what schools could be so that we could really start this process of reimagining what learning could be like, both for the adults who work and live in our communities, but most importantly for the students that we serve in these communities. And so that was really kind of started our thinking process. All during that time, we had some board data meetings with board and admin team where we brought MSBA in and started looking at student data and so forth. We started distributing parent surveys and student surveys at that time. And then we started bus tours too. So we started taking our teachers to various school districts and seeing what they were doing to empower their students and engage their students in the learning process. Things like the geometry construction program, or the Career Connections Academy, or the middle school academies. And we did that not because we wanted to replicate what they were doing, but because we really wanted to prime the pump about what was possible for us in our district when we started thinking about how can we honor the traditions of our past while really preparing our kids for the most important future that they're going to have. And you can see then our mission, vision, value work really kind of started in February of 2020. We did an environmental scan of all the different survey data we did. We really started looking and processing the feedback, discussing our findings from the site visit, et cetera. We were pretty deep in our work in February and March of 2020, really creating the essence of the vision and coming up with some consensus and emerging themes and concepts that we were seeing in those survey data and academic data. And then right as we were nearing the end of our process is when the pandemic started. So it was a long rain delay, much longer than any of us would have known. If you remember, our last meeting was set on the day we actually said we were going to not return students to school because we were going to head to spring break. And we thought at the time, maybe it'd be a week, maybe 2 weeks, but we'd be back. Little did we know at that time really what was in store for us and the challenges it would present. Oops. So in January, so then you can kind of see our work in May and December. There was just a lot of preparation stage, leadership training. We did some operational surveys, district effectiveness surveys, employee engagement surveys. We really started to hardwire some scorecards around student learning goals. I know our different administrators, our principals particularly throughout the year have modeled how we're using those scorecards to keep active in that continuous improvement journey. And then January, March, we rolled out our employee survey results. We got our community involved with that community survey we talked about with 584 submissions, basically 3/4 of which was from our community, 1/4 from our staff. And then we started focus groups in March, April with parents, guardians, faculty, staff, community board members, and as we talked about, 161 participants involved in at least one focus group. And then this spring, in April, May, we reconvened the work of the mission vision group. We not only started to reanalyze what we knew kind of coming into this, but also we had to kind of explore new learning environments. You know, ever since the pandemic, things changed a lot in education and they changed really rapidly. So we also had to start to consider things from that lens, not only again for our present state, but what that means for educating kids moving forward. And then we kind of really got into the design stage, which we're currently in right now, as far as our strategic plan and our refined mission, vision, values. The strategic plan will bring to proposal in July, and tonight we're here bringing the mission, vision, values to the board. So just kind of a quick overview, what are mission, vision, values and why are they important? Well, like I said, they're really only as important as they inform the organizational strategic plans, the actions that come out of it. The mission itself should describe what the organization does, the practical aspects of why we exist as a district and what we actually will do. It should define our function and should define our purpose. The vision should be what the organization wants to accomplish. It's supposed to be quick, memorable, and a reason for being. It should also be two really important things, inspirational and aspirational. It should be inspirational to its staff and supporters, and it should be ambitious in its goals. It should identify what will be different if our mission as a school district is actually achieved, and what makes our district unique from others. And then finally, values. Values are actions for working together as a community. They're the commitments that'll guide our work and what we'll be known for as part of our reputation. So first, this is the revised mission. I'll read it to you first, but then I'll also go behind the scenes into some of the things that went into play. Any similarity to our current mission is very intentional. Again, we want it to be very important to honor the traditions of our past while also refreshing it for our current state working with students. So our revised mission is the Valley Park School District is dedicated to providing a safe and supportive environment of belonging where personalized learning experiences prepare our students holistically for limitless opportunities, empowering them to make the world a better place. Here's what went into that, the thinking of this vision statement. First of all, as I said, we really want to honor the tradition of our current mission because we do think it speaks very well to what we're currently doing. So when you see box 1, that is actually the current mission statement that was read this evening, and that is on all our walls and everything else. And when you see the ones embedded throughout, it's because that aligns directly with our current mission. So the mission itself should sound very similar. The personalized aspect came exactly from personalized, supportive came from supportive, and even the empowering, things like holistically and empowering. While the words themselves may change, they came essentially as a redesign from here. So rather than saying all the different words, emotionally, socially, etc., we combine that to holistically to shorten it up. And rather for preparing today for tomorrow, we talked about empowering and making the world a better place. More importantly, some of the new aspects of the vision that went into it was some of that data that we really collected from our students and our staff, as well as our community as well. So the reason SAFE was added in there, in addition to supportive, which was already in there, it's because our stakeholders have told us we do a really good job of that. Our community survey data, 95% of the respondents said they think the school district is safe. 95% is a significant number in any survey, in any question. But when you look at that at the national norm of the same survey, the national norm across the country is 66%. So that kind of says what we've been doing to keep our students safe is working. And so we wanted to make sure that was continuing to be a focus of ours because we also know when students feel safe, when staff feel safe, they're happier, they're more productive, they're more engaged, attendance goes up, grades go up, all those metrics that we would deem as a successful school district are impacted when people feel like they're safe. Similarly, that's where then the word belonging comes in. And that really is a specific focus on our kids. We want to make sure every one of our kids feels like not only they're safe, but that they belong here, that they have a place here, that they can be successful here. There's ample research to go with belonging, just like there is with safety, that when students and staff feel that they belong, positive relationships improve, academic performance goes up, but also when we're thinking about that social emotional aspect, kids and staff are happier, their self-esteem is higher, their self-efficacy improves, their identity improves, and you have a safe school environment. So when we see belonging and safe, we really see those as things that go hand in hand. And then finally, where you see the threes that pop up there, that again comes from the focus group strengths. So some of the things that we heard specifically from our focus group that as strengths were campus setting and size, community feel and support, quality of staff, personalized relationships with students, individual care for each student, strong connections, meet each student's needs, and everyone works together. So we really want to make sure that we kind of honored the voices of our focus groups as well with that personalization piece and that supportive piece. And that's really where that kind of came into play as well. Now the vision statement should actually support the work of the mission statement and follow out of that. Again, keeping in mind our bullet points, a vision statement is what we want to accomplish. It's supposed to be quick and memorable, our reason for being. And it's supposed to be inspirational to staff and supporters and aspirational and ambitious. Some of the ways that we came up with our revised vision, again, came from our community survey. So our community survey had 213 open comment strength comments. When we code that survey, 95 different comments mentioned the strength of our community. 95, that was the number one word that came up. The second most word that came up was either the size or the campus itself being on one location. And so that's how we started to inform our vision statement. And this is what we really kind of came up with. When we think about how we got here as a district and what has made us successful, it said everyone has been working together for one common purpose, and that's the betterment of our kids. And so when we say things like one community, that encompasses everybody. We don't look at community as a geography or a zip code. We look at it as a group of people working together for a common cause, our kids. And so that incorporates all, of course, our zip codes, unincorporated St. Louis, Manchester, the city of EP, Twin Oaks. It also really embodies our resident students who live in the city of St. Louis, who participate and are educated here in Valley Park, our big families. We also don't want to limit our community by zip code and geography, because we know a number of our alumni, while they still love our school district and contribute to our school district, they don't live within the district boundaries anymore. And there's a number of other partners that always come in when we talk about community. There's a number of people who contribute to the Educational Foundation to support the work of our students post K-12 education. We have a host of community partners like universities that help us with dual enrollment courses for our students or advanced programming for our students. We work with various community partners like Youth in Need, St. Louis County, and a host of others that always provide services. So when we think about all of these people coming together and what we want and aspire to be, we aspire to be one community, a place that's united. In our community, in our state, and in our country right now, there are plenty of fragments. People look for opportunities to divide. And what we want to be, a school should be a place that unites everybody, that's inclusive. When we go back to our mission, it should be a place where everyone feels they belong. And if we're really serious about not only meeting the needs of our kids today, but tomorrow, and preparing them to be successful, it is going to take the work of all of us working together and being united. And so the vision proposal that we're presenting tonight is one community, one campus, limitless learning. When we say one community, all of us on this campus working together to create endless opportunities for our students. And then finally, our value statements. Again, going back to our quick notes, these are our commitments that should guide our work, what we really want to be known for, and some of the actionable things that should come out of our mission and our vision. So our commitments are that we're going to engage students and staff to follow their passion and maximize their potential. We're committed to working together as a collaborative community with a purpose. We're committed to taking risks while exploring, learning, and solving problems without fear of failing. We're committed to serving the needs of each student to ensure success. And we're committed to developing productive members of our community who demonstrate integrity, empathy, responsibility, and kindness to make the world a better place. And hopefully you see a through line between our mission, our vision, and our values. So you see things about collaborative community that ties directly to our vision. You see things about making the world a better place that tie directly to our mission statement. Also, things that we were very intentional about embedding, we heard our families say, we want our graduates to have empathy. We want them to have critical thinking skills, all those things. And so that's where problem solving and developing that mindset of not being afraid to fail. All of these things is how we came together with these commitments to our value statements. So then that's how it all kind of comes together. From top to bottom, you have your revised mission. Prior to our proposal tonight, the district really only focused on a mission. So now we would have a guiding and inspirational, aspirational vision to also go with our work of the mission. And also prior to tonight, we did not have commitments or value statements. And so those are the value statements that we're also proposing this evening. With that, I thank you for the opportunity to present that, and I certainly would open it up to any comments or questions.
What do you mean by holistic?
Yeah, everything. So we mean academically, socially, emotionally, all those things physically, basically the things that we've embodied in our current mission statement. We mean we're going to do all those things, basically educate the whole child.
Word.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Wasn't sure what was actually meant by it.
Yeah, educating the whole child. We just couldn't figure out how to say whole child.
Okay.
One word.
I really like it, Tim. I think it shows a lot of work by a lot of people over a lot of time. I think it's fantastic.
I agree. Thank you to everybody.
Well, we'll have further discussion on that when we get to the item as an action item. Correct? Yeah.
We can't, yeah, sure.
Okay, so moving on to item 2.02, public comment on posted agenda items. Do we have any today?
We have no public comments this evening.
Okay. So number 3, 3.01, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve 3.01.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so we have an agenda. Item number 4, consent items, includes 4.01, approval of the regular session minutes for May 26, 2020. 4.02, approval of the check register from June of 2021. 4.03, approval of the food truck renewal. 4.04, the middle school yearbook donation from Mrs. Erin Steinkamp. 4.05, the donation from Sam's Club. 0.06, 21-22, approval of the special school district contract for homebound. 4.07, approval to allow the superintendent to make the necessary adjustments to the final budget in order for final June 30th, 2021 budget to be in compliance with Missouri State Statute, Chapter 64 on budgetary compliance. A detailed listing of all adjustments, if any, will be presented to the board for review. 4.08, approval to allow for all transfers between funds allowed by or required by Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, which the superintendent deems appropriate and necessary for the benefit of the district. These transfers shall affect the fund balance for the year ending June 30th, 2021. A detailed list of these transfers, if any, shall be presented to the board for review. Does anyone have any consent items they would like to pull out?
I'd like to pull out 4.06, please.
Okay, 4.06 is going to be pulled out,
I'd like to pull out 4.02, please.
and 4.02. Okay, if no items are being pulled out, we'll go ahead and put to a vote the consent items, including 4.01, 4.03, 4.04, 4.05, 4.07, and 4.08. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone anyone opposed? Okay, so those are approved. So we'll go in order. We'll start with item 4.02, approval of the check register. We have a discussion on that? No? Just a separate vote? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the check register for June of
So
2021?
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. So then we go to consent items 4.06, approval of the special school district contract for homebound instruction. Do I have a motion to approve item 4.06?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No, I abstain.
Abstention, one abstention. Okay, so that gets us through the consent items. Okay, to the next, number 5, we'll move into the action items. First one being 5.01, approval of the mission, vision, value statements. Do I have a motion to approve
I'll move to approve 5.01.
and a second?
Second.
We had 2 motions, so it doesn't matter. And we had a second, so. Okay, so, I personally do have some comments I'd like to. First of all, I want to say that I think this is the most important document that's come out of this district for a very, very long time. It's been long overdue for us to look at this item, and I want to put in their time and efforts. And, you know, I understand I agree with 99.9% of it. I concern. So I just want to thank everybody for doing such a good job. I think that we're moving in a great direction for our kids. My only concern about that was more, there were a lot of perspectives involved, and we did have the opportunity to participate and surveys, which I was very grateful for. But I felt like when it came down to the final wording, there was one perspective that could have been missing, in my opinion, because I think that as a board member, we do look at it a different way, and I was being overly concerned, I guess, and cautious about the wording of one community, which Tim, I feel like addressed really well, but because we do have 4 municipalities that pay taxes into our school district, and as board members, we are elected to represent each of them. So I understood that one community means our learning community here on Valley campus. It impacts all of our students and all of our, staff and everybody here. I guess from a board member's perspective, was worried that someone who isn't as closely involved in operations of the school may misinterpret that and take it as, we were only focusing on one community when we have 4 taxing entities. So that was my only concern about it. I think in the future, the only thing we can do better is maybe get the board perspective on the actual committee, which, at least we have a committee and we had all those people that were dedicated to the job, and it's very much appreciated and it's moving us in all the right directions. So I just want to say that if I would have been able to make one change, I would have said community or something to that effect, so that people understood that the word community represented our learning community here on campus. It didn't represent an actual community, 1 out of 4. So that was my only concern about it. But I just want to make sure knows how much I appreciate their hard work and their willingness to get involved for the kids, because at the end of the day, this is the type of thing we have to see to provide the best learning environment, the best, emotional environment that we can for our kids. So having said that,
I can say that I understand that view of community, of that definition of community. I think for me, I kind of went along with the idea that whenever I first saw it, that it was more about just people that were sharing in a common interest, our students and their learning, whoever that might be. So that's kind of how I saw that word of community was more holistic, I guess, to bring back the word from that the mission statement, but just being able to see all the people that engage in the in the interest of our and goals that we have for our kids. So I hear you, Della. I hope that people can see that one community as all those that have that same interest in mind.
I think that the people with the school district on a regular basis and have kids involved and see all the great things going on here can understand that. I worry about the people. And again, like I said, this comes from being a board member, because, we are elected officials and we're elected by people from all 4 municipalities. And they also, all people from all 4 of those municipalities vote on our bond issues and everything else. So it came out of for making anyone able to misunderstand that in any way. And my opinion, that maybe we could have clarified it a little better, but I want to hope that with the great explanation that Tim gave, and with all of us supporting that, like we obviously will, that we can put any of those concerns of any of those people to rest. But
Absolutely.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a comment. I want to thank Tim. That was one of the things that we asked Tim to do right after he was hired on as our new superintendent. He didn't expect the pandemic to jump in. They only come every 100 years, so right on time. I hope we don't have, Noah's Ark needed tomorrow. I want to thank the group again. That was a tremendous amount of work, and it took forever because of the interruptions. A couple of comments that I want to say is I've been involved in the school district 57 years of my 62 years on the planet. I was a student. I was a parent. I'm a grandparent of students, parent of students. 26 years as a board member. I've seen several missions go. We haven't had a vision. We've had plenty of missions. What I see with the vision statement, it's only going to be useful if the vision is achievable and if we keep it in front of everything we do as a district. If we put this in a drawer or we hang it on a wall and we walk by it every day and we don't see it, all we see is the wall, it's going to be absolutely a waste of time of everybody that put their time in. We as elected officials are the ones that are responsible for the school district to make the vision and follow the mission. Those people did a lot of work, and we as stewards of the elected community are responsible for that to happen. I've seen it come and go. I've seen people make different missions, and 2 years later, they're gone and they're in another district. And we as board members, if you're here long enough as a board member, are tasked of making that happen. And if it's not an achievable mission or vision, then we're beating our heads against the wall for no reason. So we need to all be as one to make this happen. And Tim did a lot of work, and he is the person that we hired to make this happen. So we have to support him and what he needs to make this happen. We can all say it's a great vision and thank the people, and next week forget of what happened and what went on and just let Tim try to do it on his own. That's not going to work. The only difference from me and the other alumni that were involved, the 11%, is I happen to have 26 years on the board. So I see it from a slightly different alumni position because they're not tasked to make it keep going on. They did their job of creating it. Now we have to do our job to make it happen. And it's harder than what everybody thinks it is. I mean, some of this stuff is going to take funds, it's going to take time, it's going to take effort, and it's going to take hours. And we all have to be committed to make that happen, or it was a waste of everybody's time.
Which we don't want.
Oh, I got.
Okay. Anybody else?
I share in the feeling that we need to make sure that everyone understands we're talking about all of those entities that actually pay taxes to the ballot of our school district. That we're not leaving anyone out by saying one community. That one means inclusive. And that was my first concern when I saw it, was, are we not including everyone? Because, I live in unincorporated St. Louis County, and lots of times I don't feel like I'm included in anything. It's kind of a weird thing to be in this thing that doesn't have a city. I'm not Manchester, I'm not Baldwin, I'm just unincorporated.
What does it tell us?
Yeah, tells you a whole lot about my commitments. That's why I said I don't want to share at the front, making sure I got voted in. And Tim entertained me a lot of that time. But, that was my concern. I don't want anyone feeling like if we come to ask them to vote for something, that they think we left them out. And we didn't. We understand that, all these kids are ours. I mean, in my world, all kids are mine, but, not everyone feels that way, but I certainly do. No, there's not a kid that I don't love and feel responsible for. So,
Thank you for that.
I do, like it or not.
I know. Thank you for that.
Well, thank you. But, I can see that people did put a lot of work into it. Holistic is one of those words that to me is like, it's a feeling a word, not a real word. So, I'm not sure how to be holistic, but, so, it's a little abstract to me. But, you know, I just want to make sure that all of our community understands that, you know, every kid matters.
Absolutely.
And every constituent matters.
Yeah.
Every community matters, and we're all in it together. Like Tim said, that was the whole point of saying one community. That's the way, you know, the educational mind was working. But when you start looking at people who are going to be voting on bond issues that are going to fund all of these wonderful things that we want to do, we have to make sure they equally feel as though they're part of that one. So that was just the thing. We just want to make sure that if we hear any misgivings over that we make sure that we speak up loudly and let everybody know the true intentions of that phrase.
Well, I think that graphic be well placed on our website prominently, so that if anyone went to look, you see all the things that went into it, like you're saying, so that everybody can see they're represented and included.
And you're talking about the graphic that was the building. that
Yes,
listed
like all
everything.
this,
Yes, I
yeah.
would love to see that.
I feel like
That's a great idea.
I feel like that's great because it's visual, it's easy to read, everyone can see it, you can see that everything was equal sized and importance and included and thought of.
I mean, it made me feel better.
I was thinking, I think it was a really well.
Yeah, it shows how united we are in that mission as. a
All of
community.
those groups coming together.
And how important it is that we do need all those groups to be successful, like I said.
Correct.
With the absence of any of them, we're not going to be as successful as we could be if we're all invested in that mission of helping kids.
Right. Okay, so is that the end of the discussion? Are we ready to put this to a vote?
Yes.
Okay. So we already have a motion and we have a second. So all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No, we have a new mission, vision, value statements.
I just want to thank the Board of Education for not only the vote, but the trust and approval and understanding and really empowering the committee to work to collectively capture the voices of our community. So thank you for your support as well.
Okay, moving on to item 5.02, approval of the 2021-22 final budget. Mrs. Susan Dawson. Come on down.
Thank you. I'm pleased to present a balanced budget to you.
Yay.
Oh, sorry.
So, can you, I was gonna sit down, but I guess I'll stand back here if that's okay. I'll hear.
Yeah.
So the, last month we brought the preliminary budget to you, and this month we're bringing the final budget proposal. Okay. So financial highlights, the main difference in revenue is a decrease in 7.5 million. 7 million of that is because of the 2020 bond refunding. So that leaves basically a $450,000 change in revenue without the bond refunding. The majority of that is due to M&M surtax revenue that we received in June. I think last month we kind of said we're really still hoping to know what we're going to get from me. There was a lot of protested taxes. We were kind of hoping it would be 1.4 million. We actually got 2 million. And a big chunk of that was in this M&M surtax, explaining a big difference from this current year to the next year. I'm not budgeting for that to happen again at this time. Our expenditures also are decreasing to 7 million. 7.1, 7 million of that again is for the bond refunding. So basically a decrease of $67,000. At this point in time, we're looking at a 26.7% projected fund balance for this year. And that would carry into next year. Since we have the balanced budget, we're looking at probably 26.9 next year. And just for reference, CPI.
Did anybody? Wait 14 years for that.
You're gonna like this.
Thank you.
So just kind of what I just talked about. Current year, we're looking at a surplus of 480,000 at this time. Things could change a little bit. I haven't done the final payrolls. We have a little bit more money coming in from the state, but it should be pretty close. And then next year, we're showing a surplus of almost 92,000.
Okay, we can't let you go.
We start
Work here.
just, I don't wanna hesitate you too much, but can we just, I know there's people watching, can we just explain a little bit about the 25%, Tim? I mean,
Yeah,
I
so,
can do it.
so it's
We pay you to do
significant
it.
in some ways. I mean, so the easiest way to explain the surplus is to think of it as your savings account, your rainy day fund. And why, so Pete is clapping and applauding being over 25%. Well, it's significant for two reasons. Well, the first reason, it's a board goal. It's been a board goal for a long time. But what that 25% does, one, obviously, if something were to happen where we had to allocate funds to support students in the school district, obviously we have the ability to do so. And we learned last year when the governor, about a month from now, yanked $500,000 of funding away from us, how important a savings could be when we needed it.
And it happened to us in '82 when the school got
Same
flooded.
thing, right? Now,
If we hadn't had the budget we did, no one would have been educated that year.
And then from a practical standpoint, having a surplus of 25% or greater, what that typically means is basically flexibility with your spending. So what this means, as Susan is presenting tonight, sorry to steal your thunder, Susan.
You're fine.
Is that we anticipate for the first time since 2012, 2013, our district will not have to take a TAN, which is a tax anticipation note. TANs are not all that uncommon in school districts.
They are in Valley Park.
It creates payroll flexibility. Typically what happens is in order to make your big expenses, which typically is payroll, until you get your anticipated taxes from the county, you have to essentially get a loan. And loans, just like any of us on a home loan or a car loan, you pay interest, so that's more money out the door. But when 25% is kind of that magic number that should eliminate the need for a TAN, which, like I said, would be the first time in almost 10 years that we have it.
But Tim, the part I want you to really say is why we're there. And why we're there is because we have been financially smart with our money
Yes.
for the first time in many years.
There
Could
are
you
two
please
ways,
just a
there are
little
two
bit
ways
tell us
to
about
get to financial stability. One is to raise taxes, and we have not done that.
And we
We've
don't
not done
want to
that
do
in a
that.
very, very long time and have no interest in doing that.
And the people watching this don't want that either.
No, so the way we've accomplished this, and the reason we've got to this point is just sound financial management. We've had to make a lot of hard choices over the last 2 years, choices that none of us, I think, would want to make in a perfect world, but understanding the importance of not only being fiscally sound now, but moving forward to do those things, as Dell alluded to support the initiatives of a strategic plan and to continue to do the best work we can to better the lives of all students. This is why sound fiscal management is so important.
And the Board of Education has backed you on these decisions because we need to be at this point. The hard decisions that you had to make, we as a board had to back you, or that won't happen. We have to continue to do that to stay at this. This is really, really significant for the Valley Park School District. People watching and the board members that have not been around as long as I have do not understand how important this is. And the task that you did in a 2-year short term to get us at this point was monumental during a pandemic.
Right.
Okay, so we got there by you making tough decisions and us supporting you. That's why we're there. Even though we had extra expenditures for a pandemic, we had computers, we had extra people, we did all of that, and we still made this. And that's through sound financial management, period. That's it. There wasn't a whole bunch of extra money coming in. We didn't have another whole city come into Valley Park and give us tax money. It didn't happen because of that. We didn't raise taxes. It's all because of how we spend our money and how we financially, fiscally think of the people that are paying the taxes and how we spend our money. That's what it's about.
And
And
if
we
you
were able
look
to
at
do
it,
that in 2 years.
we started taking out a TAN, and what did you say, 2012?
2012, yeah.
So it's taken, all this time that we were trying to get back to not having to do that. and you got us there that quickly.
In
So
2 years.
very much appreciated. And like Pete said, a lot of hard decisions have to be made. And at the end of the day, I don't feel like we did anything but increase what we have to offer to the kids. So good job.
Folks,
We're still
we're
gonna have to
elected
keep
to
working
protect
hard.
the people's tax money.
Yes,
Be realistic about it.
Right?
Everyone in here that is a board member are not here because we were hired. We're here because we were elected. And we're elected to protect the citizens of this district. And they encompass Manchester, and they encompass Twin Oaks, and they do unincorporated, and they do Valley Park. We have to protect their money. That's what runs this district, folks. No, we get very little money from the state. Most of our money, if you look at the pie chart that's in the budget, comes from local funding. That's what we have to protect. And we're doing a hell of a job at it in 2 years.
Right, and then also, you know, we're very much thankful to our constituents that have supported us because of the fact that, like when Pete said, referring to the pie chart, that we don't get that much of our funding from the state. That means that when the state does those things and cuts those budgets, our kids aren't impacted as much.
Exactly.
It still
That's
might
exactly
lead to some decisions that have to be made to find the best route to go from there. But our kids aren't impacted as much as the kids in like the rural school districts where they get what, like 70% of their funding from the state. And then when they start slashing things, those kids, their education suffers. So thankfully to the constituents that support our
Absolutely.
school district and sound financial decisions, we are able to provide what we provide.
And they've always supported us.
Yes,
Yeah, we have a very supportive community.
Absolutely. But we have a responsibility because of that support to make sure that we do the right with their money. Because it's their money and our money, because we pay the same taxes. So we have to be good stewards of it. And this shows that we're good stewards of it.
right.
We all need to know that.
And Susan is very much appreciated as well.
I didn't mean to step on your toes.
You're fine.
We all.
I just haven't
I feel
seen
like I
this
should
in
just
so long.
fast forward through
Haven't
everything.
flashed it.
Step all over.
Just go to the thank you.
It's part of my PTSD.
All right, so this is in the budget, this is a summary of by fund, and it shows that the operating funds were showing a 19% or $19,000 surplus, and then $72,000 in the debt service fund for that total of 91, almost 92.
Right.
So revenues, major changes, I'm predicting $28,000 more in property taxes. That's based on the preliminary information that we had, I believe it was in April. 9% increase in the assessed value, using a 96% collection rate for current taxes, and then 1% of that for delinquent. Our attendance drives our Prop C revenue, so I'm basing that on the current DESI recommendations of 1,047. And because of the pandemic, we're able to use the higher of this year or the previous year, next year's revenue. And so I'm basing it on last year because I think that's going to be higher than this year's attendance. I already mentioned the big dip in M&M surtax. I'm just not comfortable predicting that out. That maybe, we might get more money next year, but at this time, I'm just trying to be conservative and look at prior year trends. Preschool is based on number of applications received as of June 11th. So this year we're expecting about $77,000 in preschool, or we received $77,000 in preschool tuition. And I think we're up to 100, whatever that is, 38,000 for next year. FIC is based on losing average of 7 students. The September and January memberships averaged to be 92 this year, but basing next year budget on 85 students. So we're anticipating a decrease there.
Susan, can I stop you for a second?
Oh, sure, want to go back?
Yeah, just for some clarity on for our public as well. While it's great to be in a sound financial position now, that screen also tells you some of the challenges that we're going to continue to face for a little bit. Unfortunately, we are, to Pete's point, very landlocked as a community. Great part about our community is people come here, they stay here for a long time. But what we're seeing from that is, our enrollment has been at best flat, but mostly declining for the last 5 or 6 years. So as it declines, there is a monetary value with that as far as the limited state funding we get, but still state funding. And then likewise, when I look at our city students through the BIG program, that is only going to continue to increase. We love being part of the BIG program. We love the value that it brings to our community and our school district. Unfortunately, out of the control of BIC itself, that program is being phased out at 2034. We'd love to have as many students as they can. They can't keep accepting students. Now it's tied to, do you have siblings in the program already? So when you see even our number going down on BIC, it's not because we wouldn't love to have hundreds of more students from the city join us and be part of our community. But that's something that's out of our control. But there's also a monetary attachment to their attendance as well and support that comes with them. So that funding will also continue to increase between now and 2034.
And Jim, there is a misconception that the public may have that the less students you have from VIC, that the smaller class size will come. That's actually exactly the opposite. Because as the VIC students pay their enrollment through the state, our class sizes are able to stay lower because we're able to hire more teachers. As the VIC students go away, then that funding for them goes away. We actually will increase class size, not decrease class size. That is a huge misconception from the public.
Great point. Great point, Pete.
Well, not to put you on the spot, but the preschool enrollment, it sounds like is increasing. Do we have an idea of numbers at this point?
I don't have it in front of me.
As among my many papers.
Yeah, sorry.
So, as of June 11th, we had 30 bodies or 21.8 FTE in the morning, and 17 bodies, 13 FTE in the afternoon.
And does that still put us red?
And so that's showing, yes,
Yes.
about a $57,000.
Yeah, I
But
just
that's like
need to
half
make
of
sure
what
that.
we're facing.
Right, yeah, but
when
I think the last time we came here, I think we were around $100+
Yeah,
thousand
yeah,
dollars. So we're about half of that, and
Yeah.
getting closer.
So we're making.
And then Susan, just the last thing, and then I will put you on the spot. I know M&Ms is not a candy that contributes to.
So merchants and manufacturers.
Thank you, yeah.
Only the
And
peanuts.
so it used to be that there was a tax on the actual inventory in commercial businesses, and this replaced that tax. And so it's based on the commercial real estate value.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, I just wanted
Okay.
someone to hear that.
Yes, thank you.
And then the other big decrease from this current year to next year is in the CARES funds. This year, we've accessed about $218,000 in CARES funds. And so far, we haven't budgeted any for next year. We have 3 years to spend our ESSER allocations that we've received from the state, and they're about $2.4 million. So we've got some opportunities there really to assess what our learning loss might have been and put in some good.
But they're only
supports.
earmarked for certain things.
They are.
I need to make sure everybody knows that.
Yeah.
You
Right,
can't
so-
just, you
And
can't
one of
just
the
build a building.
Right, yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean,
Within.
people may think that.
Yeah, right. So one of the requirements to access the ESSER funds, so DESI will essentially be the bank of those funds that they receive from the federal government
That's
for
good.
us. One of the requirements was getting feedback from our community on, how they think we should use it. So that survey went out, I guess, 2 weeks ago, and I think closes the end of this week. And basically the uses that you can use it for, so things like learning loss, ventilation, cleaning supplies, technology. It's very specific though. And the one asterisk that I would also put on that is, it is not recommended that you spend it to increase staffing, because that money goes away. It's one-time money. So programming and things, great, learning loss, short-term, very potential. But the other thing, to Susan's point, that I just want to highlight, we do anticipate receiving those federal funds, which is great, and will support our district. We did not account for that in this budget. So when we say we have a surplus of 25, 26, 27%,
Doesn't include that money.
does not include that, because again, it's one-time money.
That's
So we don't
business.
want to do kind of fuzzy numbers
Yeah.
and inflate things by adding that into the budget.
Great, great. I also need to know that that money is based on enrollment.
Yes.
Pete already talked about this, but this slide shows that 89% of our revenue comes from local sources, and those local sources include both the property taxes and the revenue from our VIC program. And this, you've seen this several times, it's kind of the history of our assessed valuation. And you can see that it's been going up steadily in the last few years. And this year we have, anticipated 9% increase. And this is the preliminary tax rate that we looked at a couple of months ago, which we're showing a decrease, I think 28 cents in the property tax rate because the value went up. We have to lower our rate.
And I think, Susan, if you go back to the assessed evaluation slide, I think that's the other, reason that's so important to have high quality schools. This slide would look very similar in every successful school district. The price of your home is contributed directly to the quality of your schools. And so every penny that our taxpayers commit and that we use wisely for the betterment of our kids, they also see an increased property values as well. So that's why it's so important for the people, even those that don't have students in our schools anymore, that we continue to maintain the very best schools because it does directly impact.
No doubt.
as well.
Good point. Thank you.
Okay, so the blue is the operating levy, the orange is the debt service levy, and then the line is kind of the combined total levy. You can kind of see that it's declined the last several years. And then this slide shows the inverse relationship between those residential property values increasing in the blue, and then the orange line of the tax rate decreasing to try to maintain a level funding so that we're not benefiting from that unduly from that increase in the AP.
Correct.
That things stayed relatively flat. So we talked a little bit about our enrollment and how that affects some of our revenue streams. So again, this is showing our history of our September membership and how it's declined past several years. And more importantly, our big membership, how it's declined and is projected to continue that decline into the future. And so we get roughly $7,000 per big student, not less some title money. And so this is showing that decline in revenue following that decline in the enrollment.
And I think another thing about Vic that maybe the general public doesn't know either is it's very uncommon that we get a new Vic student in kindergarten. So they may jump in fourth grade, middle school, high school.
Correct.
We'd love to have them be part of our district K through 12, but it's kind of what's presented to us in the application we receive. But
Well, now it's even worse because they have to have a sibling, so it's really tough to get a kindergarten.
Yeah, now the good news is it doesn't have to be a sibling in Valley Park, and we have seen more of
Just
those
in
recently,
Vic's
just in
program.
Vic. So if they're part of one of our neighboring districts that
That's right.
participate, but they'd rather send their younger student here. And that is happening more and more. We're actually seeing that. And again, in part, one, because of the quality of our district, but because we do have class sizes that can really personalize things for kids, where some of the larger districts don't have the advantages we have. So we do see that. But then even then, we're seeing in third grade, middle school, et cetera. Now it's actually.
So 7 years ago, our BIC represented almost 10% of our revenue. And now it's just barely over 4%.
These were all things that.
But we're still able to get the balance we need because we're not relying on the big money anymore. The school districts that are relying on the big money to make their balances are gonna be really in trouble when it goes away in 34, because it's not gonna be there and it's gonna be like a light switch. So we're able to get to the balance even though we're down 6% on VIC. And that's, again, through spending smartly. Another issue we need to discuss as a board at a later date is why our students are declining in numbers and how we're going to look at the future if it gets any worse. That's something we need to do as a board Right.
I think we talked about too, Pete, you specifically talked about even looking at the, kind of the birth rate and cohort models too.
And we can do
And
that.
it's one piece, obviously,
Yeah.
we also have some other factors, but it's one piece that can also help.
Absolutely. And we do that with the normal 5-year plan.
Yeah.
That's part of what we should do as a
Yes.
board.
Yep.
That's smart fiscal planning.
Long term.
Absolutely.
So the expenditure side, salaries and benefits are decreasing $200,000. That's kind of a combination of the attrition. We've lost, 5 positions. 1.5 teachers and 3.5 for support staff at this time. And it includes a 3% increase for ongoing staff and a mid-year increase in health insurance.
Was that the actual percent raise that we had this year?
On
For health
average.
insurance
Oh, health insurance?
was 3.5%?
Oh, no, health insurance was actually flat.
Health insurance, I'm predicting maybe a 5%, but it
Okay.
doesn't kick in until January. The average salary increase for staff it worked out to be 3% across the board.
Okay, and you're estimating the insurance premium increase.
Right,
Yeah, but the last 2 years, it's been flat.
correct.
Do you have to change your
We,
health
So we're
insurance offering?
still,
No?
we have to bid every 3 years.
Right.
So our broker goes out and bids
I
every 3
just
years.
didn't know, I mean, we got it with animals.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we were
Services.
expecting large increases each of the last 2 years and thankfully. we've not.
Isn't that where part of this $2,007, $207,000 comes from? Was that you were anticipating maybe a larger increase
Mhm.
and then
Yes,
we weren't hit with that
Yes,
larger
exactly.
increase, so that helped.
I was over budgeted this year, so
Right. So right now, even this year, so at 5%, if we were fortunate enough to get it with a 4% increase next year, we'd have that 1% savings.
Purchase services. I'm anticipating an increase. It probably is not going to be that much, just because the food service waivers to feed all the students for free next year is in place for the whole school year. So we've not had as many expenditures in our food service contract as a result of that. So, but I tried to budget as if we were kind of
I'd rather you be conservative.
Absolutely.
full board. And then this year we gave the department and school budgets an increase of 1.4%, which was that CPI number from December that we looked at earlier. So that some of that's in the purchase service account, some of that's in the supplies account. Supplies are going down a little bit because we won't have to buy some of those things that we bought for the pandemic. We bought buckets for every classroom. We don't need to buy that again. We bought
Ton of desk.
some sprayers, we bought masks, we got
What's that? Oh, yeah, it's got.
some things we have on stock still that we kind of geared up, kind of not knowing how much we were gonna use. So we've got a good supply on hand. And then some of the computer, the owls, some of those things, we don't need to buy those again, so. And the same.
We hope we don't ever.
Right,
find
right.
it.
Well, we certainly wouldn't want to do it now with all the supply chain going crazy on computer chips, so.
So then, another pie chart, this just shows that 69% of our budget is salary and benefits and 14% is debt service, followed by purchase services and that's supplies. So combined general fund and teachers fund, current year, looking at is 26.7% fund balance, and then carrying that into next year, about the same. This is just the fund balance history. And our forecast, so just kind of using the current trends and projecting out, so still anticipating that in the future, we'll continue to have some of those savings through attrition and some other things, but at this point, it looks pretty stable for foreseeable future, or maybe not so foreseeable, but
Yeah, we
our best guess.
Kids.
What's that?
Or has kids.
Oh, yeah.
That will make a difference.
And then I wanted to include a slide on debt service since we had Lorenzo here last month. So this shows that our projected ending balance in this coming year would be 1.9, almost $2 million in debt service. And the following year bond obligation is only 1.4. So we have a surplus of $500,000. So we are going to have to take action in this coming year, which you all knew already, but you can kind of see it there. And I believe that's all I had. So does anybody have any questions? I know we kind of took some as we went along.
Thanks for your efforts.
Yeah, no, it looks
Very
great.
much.
My
Thanks for your
pleasure.
presentation. too.
Yeah,
That was
it's
very
clear
clear.
this,
Yeah.
it was very easy for me to understand.
Glad you.
It's the greatest budget that I've seen in 15 years.
You know, I'm gonna teach you in the parking lot, you better run with this go.
I'm finally gonna get to sleep.
You want Susan to sign her notes and you can like frame it?
I actually saved mine, I bought it. as a hard copy Because I would like to autograph it before you leave.
But you put the person.
And I am not kidding, that's why I printed it out. You
Does
have
she
no
have to,
idea
like,
what I've
every
gone through.
Does she need to autograph every page?
Or just the title?
No,
page
just
where
the
you are.
front.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Susan, for all your work.
Thank you.
Good luck on your future endeavors.
Yes.
Thank you.
Because that'll bring us a long way.
You're not gonna miss the drive.
No, I won't.
Looking forward to my extra hour and a half every day.
Oh, my God.
Oh, come on, when the pandemic happened, you probably had a much shorter drive. It was much quicker,
It
less
was.
traffic.
It was.
It was.
It was almost 45 full clicks.
I know, it's
Almost.
Okay, so I guess we're at the end here of our action items. 5.03 is a motion to adjourn to executive session. Do I have?
haven't voted on
Yeah, we need to vote on
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was so.
You're still energized.
Don't worry, I wouldn't go on.
Oh, yeah, I was so caught up in so. Okay, so we need a motion to.
I'll make a motion.
5.02.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone? Okay,
Thank you.
there we go, now it's official. All right, so now we're gonna move forward with 5.03, motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye,
Oh, we
anyone
need to
opposed?
roll call. Needs to be roll call, right?
Yep.
Okay, roll call, we're starting with A.
Hi.
Lisa,
Hi.
Aye.
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 Jeremy,
Aye.
aye. Okay, thank you everyone for all your time and efforts and your hard work. Is Tad still in there?
Did you sign that for me?
No.
I'm dead serious. I'm
Maybe
afraid.
he's tracking that Uber still. So I should text him and ask, he's okay.
I gotta get better with-
Two.
I don't know.